There are days when simply waking up is a victory. The world feels overwhelming. Words cut deeper than they should, and the goals that once sparked excitement now feel like burdens. We're not exhausted because we're incapable, but because the mind is stretched thin, torn between relentless expectations and recurring disappointments. Yet there is a truth we often forget. We still hold the power to choose, not our circumstances, but our response to them. And sometimes, a subtle shift in perspective is all it takes to turn everything around. This video doesn't promise to erase your pain. Instead, it offers a map. 8 principles distilled from those who have stood face to face with suffering and kept walking. No embellishments, no lofty theories. Just practices you can begin today. Because sometimes, what we need isn't advice, but a clear path forward, so we don't fall. 1. Practicing gratitude, the quiet strength that calms the storm. We often believe that gratitude only comes when life is good, that we can only feel thankful when everything goes our way, when plans unfold smoothly, and when chaos fights. But the truth is the opposite. It's in the uncertain, harsh, and disoriented moments that gratitude reveals its true power. It's not a fleeting emotion. It's a deliberate act of will, the decision to seek light where darkness seems to reign. On our worst days, the mind shrinks, drawn only to what's broken, what's lost, and what's missing. We slip easily into the mindset of scarcity, time, love, success, recognition. And when our thoughts loop around the mantra, "I don't have enough," it wears us down, makes us doubt ourselves, and strips away our inner peace. But if we pause, even briefly, and shift the question from, "What am I lacking?" to "What do I still have that matters?" our posture begins to change. Gratitude doesn't alter the situation, but it transforms how we meet it. It softens the frozen stones of grief and rage within. A warm glass of water when parched, a silent embrace from someone who cares, even timely stillness. Each is a quiet reminder that life hasn't turned against us. Not entirely. Ironically, these smallest signs are the easiest to miss. When we're fixated on what lies beyond our reach, we forget that life's richness is not in the grand milestones, but in the small, repeated things. If only we learn to see them differently. Gratitude doesn't ask us to pretend everything is fine. It's not about denying pain or avoiding truth. On the contrary, it offers balance, so that even in loss, we find an anchor, something safe to hold on to. Because if we view life only through the lens of lack, we will always feel wronged, always feel insufficient. But through the lens of gratitude, we see how far we've come, what we've endured, and what still remains, no matter how small or fragile. You may not have what you desire right now, but you might already have what someone else longs for their entire life. A loyal friend, a body strong enough to move, a clear mind to reflect, or simply one more day to be alive. When we truly recognize that, the mind begins to open, and in that opening, positive energy quietly returns, not in a rush but steadily. Like tending a quiet garden, gratitude must be cultivated daily through small acts, honest notes, and careful attention to the things we once overlooked. One of the simplest, yet most powerful practices is this. Each morning or before sleep, write down 3 things you were grateful for that day. They don't need to be profound, just honest. Maybe you got through a hard conversation. Maybe you laughed when you didn't expect to. Maybe you simply didn't give up, despite being tired. By repeating this habit, we train the mind to recognize the good amidst the bad. And that's a core strength shared by the truly resilient. The world outside doesn't need to change for us to feel whole. What needs to shift is how we see it. Gratitude is the bridge between what we have and the peace we're seeking. It demands no conditions, only a choice: to open rather than close, to look toward the light, not curse the dark, and to keep walking, not because all is perfect, but because we've grown wise enough to honor what still remains. 2. Patience, steady as water, strong as stone. There's a truth we rarely admit. Most of our pain doesn't come from what happens, but from how slowly it unfolds. We crave instant results, rapid healing, and quick resolutions. And when they don't arrive, doubt creeps in. Patience wears thin, and we lose our sense of direction. But if we look to nature, we'll see this clearly. Nothing truly lasting ever grows in haste. Trees don't bear fruit overnight. Rivers don't run deep in a week. People don't mature from a few stumbles. Everything takes time. And it's the quiet persistence through time that gives things their true worth. We live in an age of speed. Everything screams for immediacy. Information is a tap away. Purchases take seconds, and success is marketed like a trick, one hack away. But reality doesn't bend to shortcuts. Anything that truly matters, healing, a meaningful career, peace of mind, healthy relationships, takes time to build. Patience isn't a luxury, it's a foundation. It silently holds up the weight of our journey. Without it, efforts collapse, opportunities slip, and the mind sinks into self-doubt. In hard times, patience isn't passive waiting. It's an active discipline, something you forge from within. It's the ability to keep moving even when the path is unclear, the strength to keep your hands in the soil, even before signs of life emerge, the will to repeat small acts, reading another page, practicing one more move, listening one more time, without applause, without recognition. That is resilience, as soft and unstoppable as water. Because water doesn't rush, it simply flows. And in time, even stone gives way. We often measure progress by speed, but life rewards endurance. The ones who succeed aren't those who rush ahead, but those who don't give up halfway. This is especially true when life unravels. In chaos, when nothing feels certain, patience becomes an anchor. It keeps us from reckless decisions. It stops us from quitting too soon. And it reminds us, what's truly valuable lies at the end of the road, not at the easy beginning. Think back to the times you nearly gave up. Maybe it was a project you poured yourself into with no result, a relationship you tried to mend, met only with silence, or a season of self-improvement that left you feeling stuck. In those moments, it's easy to say, none of this matters. But the truth is, you've come farther than you think. You may not see the outcome yet, but the very act of persisting has already set you apart. Many gave up, many turned away. But the fact that you're still here, still taking even the smallest step forward, that's a quiet triumph only you can fully understand. Training patience is like building a mental muscle. It doesn't come all at once. It's shaped over time. Every time you choose not to rush, not to quit, not to force things to bend to your will, you strengthen that muscle. And when it's strong enough, you'll realize you don't need everything to happen on your schedule. You just need to stay grounded until the time is right. The deepest growth isn't found in what we gain, but in how we wait, with calm, with steady action, with trust in the processes, even before it bears fruit. In the end, patience isn't weakness. It's the highest form of self-mastery. When you're patient, you're saying to the world, I'm not ruled by impulse. I have nothing to prove in haste. I trust myself enough to let things unfold in their own time. And from that place, you do more than survive life's storms. You grow through them, little by little, steady as flowing water, strong as unshaken stone. 3. Learning from adversity. When pain becomes the root of strength, Life doesn't ask for permission before it strikes. It doesn't knock to warn you that tomorrow you'll lose your job, lose someone you love, or watch your trust unravel. It just arrives, abrupt, indifferent, sometimes cruel. But in that chaos, a crucial question emerges always. What will we do with this? That's when the truth of who we are is revealed. Not through words, but through response. And through the Stoic lens, adversity isn't a destroyer. It's a forge, a mirror reflecting with precision how deep our maturity and inner strength truly go. Adversity is an inevitable part of the human path. No matter how well you live, how carefully you planned, things will fall apart at some point. But here's the striking thing. Some people emerge from hardship sharper, calmer, stronger. Others break. The difference isn't in how hard the blow lands, but in how they carry themselves into the dark. Some let it consume them. Others walk through it and uncover light within. That choice, how we frame adversity, shapes who we become. It's easy to feel like a victim when things fall apart. Easy to blame circumstance, fate, or others. But Stoicism grants us no such privilege. It doesn't ask us to deny pain, but to extract meaning from it. Because suffering, when observed closely, always carries a hidden gift, awakening insight, a strength we never knew we had. Every rejection, every failure, every moment of loneliness becomes an opening to ask, what can I learn from this? How can I turn it into something useful? Just as steel is forged in fire, just as muscles grow through post-workout pain, so too the mind. It doesn't evolve in comfort. It expands through challenge. When you rise on your own after a fall, when you are misunderstood but choose to stay kind, when you lose something vital, but continue with gratitude for what remains. This isn't naive optimism. It's a deliberate transformation, turning adversity into a training ground for calm, resilience, release, and self-mastery. We often look back and see that our hardest seasons shaped our character most. A financial collapse may teach you discipline and the power of simplicity. A broken relationship may reveal your blind spots, guiding you toward healthier love. A stretch of unemployment may force you to build skills you would never otherwise explore. It all begins with pain, but it doesn't have to end there. It only ends if you choose not to learn from it. There's a truth worth repeating. Adversity is not your enemy. It's not out to destroy you. It simply reveals what's been inside you all along. Ego, the illusion of control, false expectations, self-pity. They begin to erode the moment you look pain in the eye. And once the false layers fall away, what remains is something more real, grounded, unshakable, and clear. Learning from adversity doesn't come from mere endurance. Endurance alone can harden you. Learning happens when you witness yourself in pain, without being swept away, and ask, what is this teaching me? It may be a lesson in letting go, in misplaced priorities, in realigning your focus. Every hardship is a classroom, but no one can force you to attend. That decision is yours alone, and if you choose to step in, you'll discover something rare. Adversity doesn't just make you stronger. It makes you more trustworthy in your own eyes, because you'll know, whatever comes next, you've faced the storm, you've walked through it, and you've turned your wounds into wisdom. That's the kind of strength no one can take from you. The kind only earned when you've fallen and risen again on your own 2 feet. 4. Compassion, the gentle strength of the strong. As we face life's trials, we're often told to be strong, self-reliant, and unshaken by misfortune. But one truth rarely spoken is this: real strength requires softness, and the most valuable form of softness we can cultivate is compassion. Not weakness, not pity, but the ability to feel another's pain without losing the calm within ourselves. It's a quiet power, one that can soothe a raging heart, dissolve conflict, and at times rescue a soul teetering on the edge of losing all hope. We live in a world where judgment is easy, but understanding is rare. One misstep, one poorly chosen word, and people rush to condemn, cancel, or attack without hesitation. But these ugly reactions often don't come from malice, but from wounds left unhealed. A person who lashes out may be fighting a silent war no one sees. A cruel remark might just be armor, covering a bruised spirit. If we meet that with anger, we feed the cycle of resentment. But if we choose compassion, we can break it at the root. In Stoicism, compassion isn't blind tolerance, or unconditional forgiveness. It's lucid understanding. It's the awareness that others, too, carry burdens we cannot see, just as we do. Through that lens, anger softens, pride dissolves, and a new space opens, one where real human connection can begin. Compassion doesn't ask us to condone what's wrong, but it does free us from becoming agents of more harm in an already wounded world. What's striking is that compassion doesn't just heal others, it liberates us. Holding on to hatred doesn't punish anyone but ourselves. It poisons us slowly. Negative emotions don't vanish just because we're right. They dissolve when we choose to exit the game of blame and retaliation. Compassion is how we deny anger control over our behavior, how we protect our peace, no matter how others act. And that discipline isn't easy, but it's worth practicing every day. We can begin with small steps, like pausing before reacting, like asking, where is this person hurting? Instead of, where are they wrong? Like choosing to listen more, speak less, and seek to understand rather than to win. Even something as simple as not retaliating when provoked. Not out of weakness, but because we've outgrown the need to fight fire with fire. When compassion becomes part of who we are, our presence shifts. We become warmer, steadier, and something strange happens. Others begin to soften too. In the presence of someone who offers no resistance, don't confuse compassion with weakness. The weak react on impulse. The strong can choose not to react. The weak let anger drive them. The strong master the fire within. And the strongest among us are those who can be firm when needed, yet open-hearted when it matters, without losing themselves. Compassion is the highest form of self-command, because you act not from pressure, but from choice, from the deep space where reason and kindness meet. In times when the world grows more divided by bias, fear, and ego, compassion is no longer a private virtue. It becomes a public force, one small enough for anyone to practice, but powerful enough to shift the atmosphere around us. A kind word, a non-judgmental glance, a well-timed silence, and sometimes simply not turning away from ourselves when we feel exhausted. Because compassion isn't just for others. It begins with us. When we learn to forgive our own flaws, to keep going despite imperfection, and to say, I am still worthy of love, even when today didn't go well. So if there's one trait to cultivate starting today, let it be compassion, not for praise, not to be the good one, but to become someone calmer, wiser, and stronger, not with a shout, but with the quiet strength of clarity and an open heart. 5. Living fully in the present. This moment is your greatest weapon. There's a great paradox in modern life. We are alive, yet rarely present. We walk, speak, work, breathe, but most of the time, our minds are elsewhere. They are tangled in the past or pulled toward the future. We dwell on past mistakes, on things lost, on words we regret, on chances we'll never get back, or we are anxious about what's ahead. What if we fail, get rejected, or fall short of our goals? And so, day after day, we lose the only thing that truly belongs to us, the present moment. Living fully in the present doesn't mean forgetting the past or ignoring the future. It means returning to the only place where change is possible. This moment, right now, every emotion, every decision, every meaningful action can only happen here. You can't act yesterday. You can't breathe tomorrow. All you have is now. And realizing this doesn't just bring peace. It makes you more awake, more deliberate with your life. We often think our suffering comes from circumstance, that if work were easier, if our partner understood us, if things just went smoother, we'd finally be happy. But the truth is, even if you change your job, your environment, your entire life, if your mind isn't anchored in the present, you'll still feel restless and incomplete. Because happiness doesn't come from having more. It comes from feeling more. A simple cup of tea can be healing if you sit with it, feel its warmth, take in its scent, and do nothing else. But if you sip while scrolling, while thinking about the afternoon meeting, or an unanswered email, it becomes an empty act, leaving no trace of life in your awareness. Stoicism doesn't preach slowness. It emphasizes wakefulness. You can be a busy entrepreneur, a laborer, an artist flying across continents. It doesn't matter. What matters is whether you are actually present in what you do. When you speak to someone, do you look them in the eye? Or think about your next task while pretending to listen? When you eat dinner, do you taste the food or just go through the motions like a machine? When you walk, do you feel your feet touch the ground, the breeze brushing your skin, or has your mind already left your body beyond? Presence isn't some grand achievement, but its consistent practice builds powerful inner strength. When you are truly present, you're less likely to react blindly. You act not from impulse, but from clarity. If someone insults you, presence allows you to pause, notice the rise of emotion, and choose a wiser response. It keeps you from being swept away by moods, from drowning in anxiety, and from losing yourself in life's chaos. Living fully in the present is a journey. It doesn't come from a single insight, but from daily practice. You can begin by pausing a few times a day, just to notice your breath. Each time your mind drifts, gently bring it back, without judgment, without force. Whether you are washing dishes, walking, driving, or sipping morning coffee, these are all chances to practice awareness. And slowly, without changing anything around you, something inside you will grow clearer, steadier, lighter. Someone who lives fully in the present isn't running from problems. They're meeting reality head-on, while choosing to respond with wisdom and self-possession. They are not trapped in the past, nor dragged by the future. They stand firmly in the only time that exists, the only place we can act, change, and truly live. 6. Cultivating inner strength. The quieter you are on the outside, the stronger you become within. We often think of strength as something external, a powerful body, a commanding voice, a successful career, or a title that demands respect. But there's another kind of strength, quieter, harder to see, the strength within. It doesn't come from what you possess, but from how you face what you can't control. It doesn't show through outward confidence, but through the ability to remain calm, even when your inner world is a storm. Inner strength is the true foundation of self-mastery. And strangely, we only begin to cultivate it when life stops being easy. There are days when you are misunderstood and can't explain yourself. Moments when you do everything right, yet the outcome still hurts. Times when you feel hollow, lost, no longer sure who you are in the whirlwind of life. That's when inner strength speaks, not with easy answers, but with the ability to stay grounded in uncertainty and still hold your center. Those with inner strength feel no need to prove themselves because they're clear on what's happening inside. They can stay silent without feeling defeated, say no without guilt, endure pressure without losing control, and most of all, They don't lose themselves. No matter how much the outside world change, building inner strength is not a pleasant journey. It demands that we face ourselves, our fears, our wounds, our pride, and the past we tried to bury. There are no shortcuts. You can't buy inner strength in a course or gain it by reading a few books. It's forged each time you sit with your real emotions, each time you fail and don't run, each time you respond with intention rather than react from impulse. Every one of those moments lays a brick, fragile at first, but slowly forming a fortress within. We train the body with heavy weights, repetition, and mind. The mind needs the time to grow. Every time you resist lashing out in anger, you're training inner strength. Every time you step out of your comfort zone while your heart races, you're training inner strength. Every time you face a bad day and still do what's right, you're teaching yourself to stay true to your values in the face of adversity. And what makes this strength precious is that no one can take it from you. It doesn't rely on praise, achievement, or others' opinions. It lives within you, quietly, like bedrock. There will be days you feel weak, days you feel behind, unworthy, tempted to give it all up. But remember, inner strength doesn't mean you always feel strong. It means that even in weakness, you don't abandon yourself. It's the ability to accept difficult emotions without being ruled by them, to rise after each fall without letting failure define you. And above all, it's the quiet belief that you can endure, not because the world will get easier, but because you will get better at facing it. Inner strength doesn't come from avoiding pain, but from walking through it with awareness. Every time you move through hardship without losing kindness, you grow stronger. Every time you hold on to compassion, even when insulted, you take another step on the path to maturity. Every time you choose silence over the need to be right, you nurture a kind of power deeper than any defense. Those with inner strength don't stand out in crowds, but when the storm hits, they are the ones still standing. Not because they're lucky, but because they've prepared themselves from within. And if today you feel like you are not strong enough, not steady enough, not confident enough, that's okay. What matters is that you see it, and from this very moment, you can begin. No dramatic change is needed, just one small choice each day. Choosing patience over anger, steadiness over panic, reflection over blame. Each of those choices repeated long enough will shape you into someone new, someone not easily shaken, someone who needs no validation, someone who can walk through storms with a quiet, unshakable strength. 7. Control what you can. You can't change the wind, but you can adjust the sails. Some days, everything spins out of our control. A carefully crafted plan falls apart due to an unforeseen event. A close friend walks away without explanation. A dream job slips through your fingers despite your best effort. Life keeps throwing us into situations we never saw coming. And if we cling to the belief that everything must go my way, we'll constantly suffer, trapped in frustration, anger, disappointment, and helplessness. But the moment we start to distinguish what's within our control from what isn't, our mind begins to lighten, to clear, to stabilize. It's a quiet yet powerful shift, beginning with one simple question: is this within my hands? We cannot control other people's behavior, but we can choose how we respond. We can't force someone to love, respect, or understand us, but we can live by our values and refuse to let another's indifference dismantle our self-trust. We can't command the weather, politics, the economy, or the crowd's emotional swings, but we can master our words, our way of facing pressure, and most importantly, how we speak to ourselves in silence. Stoicism doesn't teach avoidance. It teaches acceptance of reality with clarity and responsibility. No blame, no complaint, no blind hope. Just this: what can I do with what I have right now? Helplessness arises when we fixate on what we can't control. We obsess over how others perceive us, stress over things that haven't happened, torment ourselves over what's already gone. Our minds stretch in every direction except the present, the only place where action is possible. That's why even the smartest, most capable people often live in quiet suffering. They try to change the world before changing themselves. But when we turn back to what is ours, our thoughts, our actions, our choices, our responses, we reclaim agency little by little. We stop being victims of circumstance and become authors of our experience. Practicing this principle doesn't make us cold or detached. It calls for awareness and courage. Awareness to know where our influence ends. Courage to release what we've held onto for too long, even when it was never truly ours. When someone hurts you, you have every right to feel pain, but you also have the right not to let that pain dictate your behavior. When your plans collapse, you're allowed to grieve, but you also have the power to pause, reset, and begin again with new lessons and a stronger mindset. Each small choice like that is a declaration. I may not control life, but I will not abandon myself. There's a unique power that awakens when we focus only on what's within our control. It's freedom. Freedom from unrealistic expectations. Freedom from aimless rage. Freedom from battles that were never ours to fight. When you stop trying to change others, you reclaim energy to improve yourself. When you stop obsessing over the future, you gain space to fully live now. And when you stop clinging to what's gone, you recover the strength to begin again. It all starts with a choice to place your attention where your power actually resides. There's a simple exercise I return to whenever I feel lost in the chaos of the uncontrollable. I draw 3 columns: what I control, what I don't, and what I can do now. In just a few minutes, my mind clears, direction returns, and my actions become focused. That small practice reminds me, if I devote myself to what's truly mine, I'll always find a way forward, however narrow, however steep, but real. If instead I place my hope in the uncertain, all I can do is wait, and waiting like that is a dangerous game for the mind. So remember this: you cannot command the sea, but you can learn to steer the boat. You cannot stop the wind, but you can adjust your sails. And in every situation, you can always adjust yourself, your thoughts, your choices, your stance, to become stronger in the storm. That's not magic, that's survival skill. And it's something you can begin practicing today. 8. Seek wisdom, not mere knowledge. In a world overflowing with information, knowledge has never been more accessible. We can find any definition, formula, lesson, or theory within seconds. But amid this abundance, true wisdom is becoming increasingly rare. Because knowledge may come from memory, but wisdom is born from deep understanding and lived experience. Some read hundreds of books, attend endless seminars, and quote great philosophers, yet fail to control a single outburst of anger. Some can recite Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus by heart, yet panic the moment life goes off script. That is not wisdom. That is unprocessed knowledge. And in the Stoic tradition, knowledge without action holds no value. Wisdom begins with humility. When we're humble enough to admit we don't know everything, we haven't fully understood, we haven't truly lived what we claim to believe, only then does real learning begin. Wisdom doesn't come from knowing many things superficially, but from deeply understanding a few essential principles and living them out each day. The wise don't need to appear wise. They don't rush to advise. They listen more, observe more, and constantly ask, What can I learn from this moment? Through what lens am I viewing it? Am I seeing clearly, or through the fog of my own bias? This is lifelong learning, not from books, but from life itself, where the true challenges happen and where our inner world is tested by. A vital part of wisdom is the ability to see things as they are, not distorted by emotion or personal expectation. When something goes wrong, the wise don't panic, and they don't rush to find someone to blame. They pause, reflect, and recognize this is an event. It may be unpleasant, but my response is what shapes what comes next. Wisdom pulls the mind out of emotional reactivity and into clarity. It's the ability to stay anchored in reason while emotions scream for attention. And that doesn't come from another book, but from self-awareness in real moments. When insulted, rejected, defeated, or forced to choose in uncertainty. To seek wisdom is to constantly refine your thinking. A person stops growing the moment they believe they've learned enough, but wisdom requires flexibility, the willingness to update old beliefs, let go of past assumptions, and accept that we've been wrong before. That doesn't make us weak. On the contrary, it signals deep maturity, because only when ego steps aside can we truly absorb lessons from the world, from others, from failure, even from the very truths we once clung to. One of the highest signs of wisdom is knowing what you're doing, why you're doing it, and being able to stop when it no longer serves you. Not getting swept up by the crowd, not making decisions out of impulse, not acting to please others or prove yourself. The wise act from a centered place where they know their values, understand their limits, and pursue only what truly matters. They don't need to win arguments, because they know that real victory lies in inner clarity, not in momentary dominance. Above all, wisdom cannot exist without alignment between belief and action. That's what Stoicism insists on. Live the truths you claim to believe, and if you can't, be honest enough to admit you are still learning. No one is perfect, but every time we draw a real lesson from experience and turn it into action, we move closer to wisdom. You don't need to be a philosopher, an expert, or someone who knows it all. Just be someone who keeps learning, keeps adjusting, and keeps living with truth at the center. And you're already ahead of those who only appear wise on the surface. I used to think that understanding philosophy was enough to change my life, until the truly difficult days came. Theory won't pull you out of bed when you are drained, and inspirational quotes won't stop your tears when unexpected loss arrives. And it was in those moments that I realized, if ideas aren't turned into action, they remain empty ideals. Stoicism doesn't live in books. It lives in the smallest daily choices, choosing to breathe instead of react, choosing silence when angry, choosing to do what's right even when no one's watching. I began by writing down 3 things I was grateful for each morning. Nothing grand, just honest. I asked myself each time emotions flared, will what I'm about to do serve long-term peace? I learned to sit with uncertainty without forcing clarity. Those seemingly small actions, repeated again and again, slowly rebuilt me, not into someone perfect, but into someone a little steadier with each passing day. Stoicism doesn't make life easier, but it makes me stronger, strong enough to walk through it with a different posture, not panicking, not giving up, and most importantly, not abandoning myself. No matter how unpredictable life becomes, one thing always remains within our control: how we choose to live through it. Stoic principles aren't cold theories. They are quiet tools that help us stay centered in a world full of noise. If something in this video gave you even a moment of pause, I hope it becomes more than just a passing feeling, but something you carry with you each day. Start with small actions. and let them slowly reshape your way of being from the inside out. If you found this video meaningful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss future episodes on building inner strength and living with resilience. I'll see you in the next one.